Alright, it seems to be working. And today we're just going to be going over how I created the album cover. And now we should be live. Now just share this. I'm just gonna be listening to some songs while I'm just getting everything ready, so it should be starting soon. Do this, see if we are live. Making sure real quick. Alright, says we are live. Gonna be checking. Alright, does say we are live, so everything's working. Alright, I'm just gonna keep listening to some songs until I'm ready to kind of start. Just making sure that everything's working, Photoshop, everything should be up in a while. And so we were working on a album cover, and this is the end result. Let me also go to here. Zoom in bigger. Is that as big as it can get? Yeah. Okay. So this is the end result, and I'm just going to go over more or less how I created it from the concept to the execution. We're also going to be talking about other things such as, I should have pulled this up. Give me 1 second. Good idea to have the list with you. But you know, just learning the ropes. So one of the things is how to communicate with clients. The second thing that they're not gonna be in order, these are just topics that I wrote down just to make sure that I don't forget, is how to balance your ideas versus your client's ideas. The other thing is how to distinguish colors. So as you can see in this one, there is a like off-white kind of cover in the back, like a background color. and then there's yellow text, and because they're similar colors, they're kind of hard to read. And so how do we make sure that it's legible, especially with a font that's kind of thin? We're also going to be talking about how to add the camcorder effect in the beginning anyway, like in the main like photo. Not only that, but we're gonna see how you can look for references to get the style that you're looking for, because a lot of people hardly ever do any sort of um how would I say it? There, a lot of people don't really just come up with these effects. They usually get inspiration from somewhere, and so I'm also going to look through how to get some references. And then finally, it's just when to call it quits on a design, because you really don't, you could, you could spend as much time as possible with the design, but you need to really know when you should stop. That's something that we are going to be talking about. I am going to lower the song volume a little bit, just because for me it's a lot louder than for you guys. Hopefully that is something that I am going to be doing. Not only that, but I also have some cool managerial tables, whatever, and I created a better overlay. So this is officially the first kind of like, this is what you're gonna be seeing before the stream starts. This is the main one. This is kind of what I was trying to design. It's a little bit more of my style. It looks kind of cool, but kind of like weird at the same time, which I kind of like. And those last two screens were the ending and the intermission. Intermissions, in case I have to go to the restroom or something like that, then here you guys could see that little meme again. This one. And then for the end of the stream, when things are done, I will be when I do end the stream, it will that one, which is probably one of my favorite ones. Just making sure that everything's good again. Sorry, it's just the first time that I was streaming, I had like a horrible echo, and now I just kind of want to make sure that nothing is like nothing's messed up. That's something that I'm like super paranoid about now. The other thing is, before, when we were switching like views like into this and this, previously I had to go into my OBS or like the streaming studio, and you can see all the behind the scenes, which I didn't like, but I didn't know that they had an application for it. So now I can do it all through my phone, and you don't really have to you don't have to do anything else. Everything's just on your phone. I could just focus on making the video. But now that I'm kind of over the whole like just talking about myself, I am going to now be talking about how I created this, right? And in the background, so this is someone that I found online. His name's Tato. I don't know if he calls it Tato like taco, or Tato like with a Spanish accent, which is something that I should have asked. But this is his music as well. It's very nice, especially for streaming, because it's not anything too crazy. It's like kind of soft. It has that like little upbeat kind of electronic vibe to it. Let me put it up a little bit more. So it has like that nice kind of ring into it. How did I find them? I think I found them on like a playlist somewhere. One of my friends had a playlist, I believe, and he just had them on it, and I was just looking around for like smaller artists because my whole point of these streams are to um try and help people get discovered with good album covers, as opposed to like, the whole graphic design is my passion meme, which is like, let me look this up real quick. So what a lot of people have, design is my passion, is because you're a small artist, you really think that you really have to find some sort of cheap way to do everything. So you don't have the best mics, you don't have the best studio, but most people focus on the audio part, which is, I would say, it is a big portion, obviously, because you are trying to get people to listen to you. So it makes sense to get the best of that. But what a lot of people aren't doing is they're not investing in sort of the promotion, and the album cover is actually the first type of promotion you have, because it's the first thing people see before they even click on your song, right? People don't preview a song without looking at the album cover, unless you're using like a 80s kind of computer. There's gonna be a photo attached to it, so the photo should be the thing that promotes your song. So this is the meme that I was talking about. Let me make this one. And so people want to do stuff by themselves, and they end up with something like this, you know. It's just hilarious, like the font, the little toad. It's just, people try and do everything for themselves, and I feel like, no, you should be, you know, ideally you should be hiring someone. But because I'm also in a similar situation where I'm small and I don't really have the audience to get like consistent clients, then obviously I'm trying to get my name out there. So what am I doing? I'm offering something for free, and it's easier. Yeah, I know. It's such a like weird. I don't know why people like, they feel like they can design something for themselves, but it looks kind of weird and awkward. But that's besides the point. Um, it's just something that, I feel like people need to put that extra resource in. And it's not like you don't know someone who designs. Like, I'm pretty sure there's someone who does. What I don't like is when people feel like, oh, they have Photoshop, now they know how to design. Um, and so you have to find the client that, one, you see is trying to put that effort into their stuff. So I just look around the internet and I start finding some people, and then I just reach out to them. And that's probably the easiest thing, because what they want, what smaller artists want and they need, is the attention from other people, right? And so even if you just tell them, hey man, we're gonna be, doing like we're gonna be doing some sort of collaboration where I design something for you, and you just help me out by getting my name out there, they're probably gonna say yes, because they also need the help. Hopefully that made sense. But yeah, so this is kind of where we were, and what he did was, and this is something that designers, musicians, and other artists, when they collaborate, they should be doing. They should be talking a lot, and they should be bringing each other's ideas together. For example, this was the album cover that we ended up with, right? But these were the things that he had sent me. Close everything. He had sent me these things. So let's go in order. This was the mock-up that he sent me. So as you can see, he tried doing this on his own. And let me see if I can make this. Just as big. We can see the difference between this, which would have been his album cover, right? And then this, which becomes a slightly, I would say, different appearance, right? For one, let's critique what he did, right? Between him and mine. So this is what someone would be designing, they would be putting on their Spotify. One, he does want to have this to be the focus, right? Because this is what he was telling me. He wants this. This is kind of his style from all his other songs, is like this white border around with like with the text and everything. However, if it is the focus, why is it so small and why are the letters so big, right? And so for mine, I wanted to put more focus on the photo itself, right? That's something that I wanted to do. Second, I'm just checking every now and then the chat. Second, he said, okay, this is my so far, and in here I kind of wanted to look more camcorder 90s kind of vibe, but all he could do was take the photo of himself, right? And so when I heard, okay, he wants 90s, he wants us to be kind of distorted a little bit, then let me distort it for him, right? Let me give him something that looks like an actual camcorder. Let's not just do the same thing, which would be just put his picture on, right? If you like notice the details here, it's kind of like breaking out. You can also see that I gave it the same quality as a camcorder, so that way from afar it looks fine and then up closer it looks bad. Whereas if you do something like this, like on his, although it's still just as like it's still pixelated, it does look still very modern because a lot of the old camcorders wouldn't really have like these, what I'm gonna call like smooth blurs, where they compress like smartly. All they do is they just compress everything very badly. Like you can see jagged lines and stuff like that, and that's something that I wanted to make sure that we included, you know? And it's those little details that actually make a photo more realistic. So for example, if you look at his work, right, it does still look compressed and everything, but that's nothing that you can't avoid. But in old camcorders, you do not get these smooth gradients. In old camcorders, they start distressing like this, where there's these weird lines, and those are just like all little effects that you get to that people don't really notice until you try to do it yourself, right? Thank you, someone's in the chat's responding. Thank you. Oh wait, actually, if you're here, can you subscribe? I'm not trying to force it, but can you subscribe to see if the alerts are working? I was supposed to, they're supposed to be working, but I've never really seen one. So like I have a replay of one, but I'm trying to see if that's actually good or if it's like super loud or something. I'm trying to see how it actually works, or how I'm supposed to be looking at it. But I'll hear it because it's super loud. I don't know how loud it is for you guys, but for me it's like blaring outside of my ears. So I'm putting like my headphones like behind my ears. The other thing is when things are being encoded, they have these things called interlacing in videos, where because in camcorders they couldn't do 30 frames a second. What they would do is do half of the image would be taken at one time, and then the other half would be taken like 1 frame later. And because when you're moving around, things would look kind of smooth still, because you don't really need all of the pixels. But when you see like old footage, you can see that it's very oh yeah, it's super loud. Okay, cool, it works. Hey, thank you. So that's kind of the thing that you start seeing is these like interlacing effects, where everything is kind of like a little bit shifted to the left. However, I didn't want to do it to the whole picture, because then you start noticing that it's over edited, and that's something that I didn't want to do, right? I wanted to look like a camcorder. The last thing that I did is I just added a little bit of static. And the reason why is because back in the day, the camcorders, I don't know exactly how they produced the static in lines, but I would say it's just like a manufacturing, like the sensor wasn't that good. And so what the sensor would do is it would create these nasty white lines. And in those white lines, because the information would be like very corrupt, it would actually make the things that were under the white lines very dark and very contrasty. And so I made sure that that's something that I included here. And so that's kind of how I came up with this effect, right? Then I just added a little bit of text here and, you know, try to make it look cool. But that is the difference between this kind of photo that they would add, and a photo that someone who knows a little bit more on like how photo editing works, right? And I'm not saying he had bad, because he started with the concept and he told me this is how I wanted to look. So, you know, I went along with it. The other thing that he sent me was his logo. So if you go back, this part right here, oops, not the whole group, this part right here is his full logo. I didn't ask him what it meant, and that's something that I need to do more as a designer, is understand what it means, because to me, since it's just like symbols, I don't really know what I could do with them, right? But in a designer's point of view, you should be trying to use all of your assets to make a better design. But because he told me just put it here, that's where I put it. And then the first iteration, they were small, they were this size, and he said, can you make them bigger? So I just, you know, increased the size. What I should have done is try to be a little bit more creative with how I handle his logo. You know, maybe he does just want it to be like that. Maybe he wanted, maybe I could have done something else and he would have enjoyed that a little bit better. But because I didn't ask, that's something that I could definitely fix for the next one. The other thing that he sent me were the layers separated. So what a lot of people sometimes do is that they just send the whole image and they don't separate them, so it gets really difficult for designers to kind of do anything with it. Like, imagine trying to take off this photo from here. Now you're not working with the full photo, you're working with like a screenshot of the photo. So before you're even putting it into your own, all you're doing at this point is compressing it 2 times, because when he takes a picture it gets compressed, but let's just assume that it didn't. It's original quality. He puts it through a computer, he makes it smaller, and when you scale anything, there's compression. So once you scale it down, then he, you know, puts his little designs, everything, then he creates a photo of that. So that's another second compression. Once you get into your computer, you're opening up, you're gonna expand it, or you're gonna, you know, edit to whatever. That's like 3 compressions. Then you put it into the full album cover, so you can send it back to them so they can put it on Spotify. That's 4 compressions on this one photo, and it's been scaled up and down and stuff like that. So if they're not giving you the full album cover, which is this one, if they're not sending you this, it's already been compressed, right? And that's just saying that he didn't edit it. If let's say that this was the original photo, but if it was in color and he put black and white, maybe he darkened a lot of the dark spots, which are shadows. If he did that, that's another compression right there, that once you put it through, like once you export it out to be this photo, you're already losing so much data that the graphic designer could have used. So if it was possible, you could have sent this in full color, or like the full size, not just the square. But you could have sent the full 3x4, I believe, the ratio. You could have sent the full thing and just say, hey, I just want the square, I want me to be in the middle and the bottom, and make it black and white. Here's a reference, right? That could have also helped. But, you know, we're both learning. He did say that he hasn't really worked with anyone like this, so I'm also having this, so that way in the next time, if he hires someone else or he hires me again, he knows also more or less how he could make his album cover better quality, right? Because when you go into something like this, you really don't want to lose as much data, because I can play around with things a lot more, because this is a camcorder effect and it requires a lot of compression anyway. I was completely fine with it. I was like, yeah, sure, if you give me bad quality, it just makes my job a little bit easier. But if you wanted something like let's say that he took a full shot of himself just here, and so not the whole photo, like the camera, the whole picture was just him like this, then when he did the black and white everything, what a lot of things lose most of the time is hair texture. So his hair, by the time I got it, I exported it, and then he put it on Spotify, a lot of his hair would start to blend and it would look more like a weird like someone brushed over his hair, like so like if I were to do something like this, let me make sure that it's like, you can see here there's texture in this tree, right? But after certain compressions, you see how here it's like different shades of dark gray. After a while it starts looking like this, so you really start losing a lot of the data. It starts looking kind of like that, and that's you know, it gets really bad, it gets blotchy. So that's something that you need to be aware of, especially like right here on these contrasty parts. Imagine if all this was, ooh, let me not draw on that, let me make a new layer. Imagine if it was something like that, right? And then like a professional like photo, it starts looking very bad, and you know, it starts looking like the little frog. Did I take out the frog? But yeah, that's it for like the critique. Hey, what's up? Hey, he's in the chat. Sorry for the long wait, but I was just looking up. I was just explaining the difference between your stuff. Actually, Jesus, Jesus, I'll be editing your stuff after this. I just want to explain to him more or less what I went through. So you just showed up. All I was saying was, what's the difference between someone like this, who, you know, you're a fresh artist, you're trying to do everything for yourself, and you remember, okay, this is something that I can do, but how do we take it to the next level by someone who knows a little bit more about like proper design and stuff like that. And I'm not like, I didn't get a degree in this, I don't have a certificate in this, but I've been doing this for maybe 3 years by myself, and I've been learning more or less everything. I've taken a few classes in photography, but photography taught me a lot about what becomes more appealing to eyes and stuff like that. And so that's something that I kind of like, right? It's something that I've devoted my time to learn. But yeah, we're also listening to his music, so go ahead and stream it. Oh, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little link to it. Copy artist link. Let me put it in the chat, so that way, in case you want to save the music too, it should be there. Hey. Hey, that's what's up. So that's his music link. That's just in case you wanna support him, because he's supporting me by creating this content. So I sucks that you just missed this part, because this was all about how artists can talk to designers, or how artists talk amongst artists. And we just went over, like, it was a really good, and I'm really glad you gave me references. That's what we were just saying. But now it's gonna go into the technical part. How do I... Oh, wait, actually, last thing. If you notice here, this color is like a beige. It's like, if you go through technicality, and let me actually do that. If you go to the beige and you look at where it is on like the color wheel, or I don't know what to call it, but like the spectrum, this off-white is yellow, and you can see it if I do something like this and I add a saturation layer, and I really start to pump up that saturation. You start seeing that it becomes more yellow, right? And if I just do that again, and I catch this, start seeing that it is pretty yellow, right? You could even start seeing here. However, what a lot of people do is they think, well, no, it's just beige, like that's fine. Oh, but when you put yellow text on it, what happens is when they're both in the same kind of like field, let's say one's just not as intense, what happens is it starts looking like they blend together. So when you're looking at it on Spotify, which is something like this, it gets kind of hard to read. And so what I wanted to do was find a way to make it more contrasty so that way you can read it, right? That's something that you notice when it's like this. You can tell there's writing, as opposed to this where even though his letters are bigger, you start seeing that it kind of feels like they're fusing into the background. When you do something like this and there's darker colors in there, you start seeing, okay, there's something here, there's like letters. Once you look at it closer, it becomes easier to read at a smaller font, as opposed to having to make it this big, right? Because when you're doing like an album and you're trying to attract people's attention as a small artist, no one cares what your name is. Like, it's sad that people aren't looking for this. People are looking for something visually intriguing. So this photo is something that we should be focusing on, right? But I believe that was it. This was kind of the communication that I was going through with myself, and then I was talking to the artist with, right? These were the things that I was kind of keeping in mind. Now, how do I make, let's say that you don't know how a camcorder effect works, right? Because I didn't. I went through like a good like 4-hour-ish journey on how a camcorder kind of looks. I was looking through footage and stuff like that, but you also want to make sure that you keep a reference with you. And so I was looking at this, right? It's not the same color because I don't know, someone put a little filter over this, or that's how the camera came, but I'm just gonna put it bigger to explain. When you look closely, the black isn't like, it's not full black, you know, it's like a really dark gray. And when you look closer, like even at like the hair, it's not like, you know, totally black. However, there is like a lot of contrast. There's a lot of like, it's very hard to find gradients in here. Like, the gradients that you can see the most are like maybe on clothing, on like light clothing. But for the most part, if you start looking at like anything, everything's just so harsh, so many harsh lines. And so I wanted to remember that, to somehow add contrast, but somehow make it look like it's washed out, right? Those were the things that I was paying attention to. So what we do is we have something like this, right? You gave me the photo, and what I did, let me take it off. This is the first process, is I made the beige background. Then I had something like this photo, right? And what I did was, there's something called a smart object where you can apply filters to to one image without having to fully affect everything. And so what I did, and let me remove all my like weird things that I did to it. And this is how the image looked. Excuse the little things, this is another effect that we'll go over later, but this is how the image first looked, right? Wait, this is the original one? Okay, there you go. This is the original one. Now, I added something called the curves, and what the curves do is they tell you, all right, you can switch light values from different ones. So like, you can make dark pixels brighter, you can make the medium, like the grayish pixels like this, darker or lighter, and then you can make the light pixels, like the white ones here, darker. But what I did was, if you look at the original one and in the camcorder one, another thing that you should pay attention to is, because there's a lot of contrast, the sky, there's like no sky, it just becomes white, right? So in this picture there is gray, and we want to make it look like a, you know, like an old one, right? So I made sure to get these light gray ones and bump them all the way until they look white, right? And it affects the rest of the picture, but I made it so that it doesn't fully affect everything. So as you can see here, the gray is still good. And then, like I said, the washed out feeling, the way that you create a washed out feeling is getting all the dark pixels and bumping them up so they become like a dark gray as opposed to like black pixels. And so that's another thing that I did. I made sure that, so here you can see like this dark, or right here, when you increase this, they turn into a dark gray. So they're still black, or they're still dark compared to the picture, but they're not completely black anymore, right? One more time, and now we're gonna zoom in. right? Practically black, you can't really see much, and it's still dark relative to the rest of the picture, but compared to itself, now it's like a gray, right? Then what I did was I created this more washed out feeling by decreasing the contrast, because this photo already had a lot of contrast. If we go back to this is way too unnatural for the like this picture, right? Even though this is still fine, we can still see like some eye detail even though it's not really there. This one is like completely gone. He's too small, but like you know, hardly anything. You could barely see things, like even here on the plants it's hard to notice. So we make sure to add that, so that way everything looks a little bit softer, because in this picture everything was harsh. How do you fix that? If let's say that you don't have a graphic designing friend, when you're taking a picture, try not to take it in the full sunlight, because the sun creates harsh lights. That's why people take pictures of themselves or selfies near windows, because the shade of the house and then the window diffuses the light a little bit, so everything becomes a little bit smoother. And that's kind of what I was trying to achieve here, giving like a little bit more smoothness to it. And then this was the thing that created the light, right? So now we have this, and when you go here, let's go back. That's how we get this album cover. However, when you go previously to his mock-up, sorry that I keep doing like a bunch of this stuff. When you look at his mock-up, the picture and the background are, we're gonna call it on the same layer, and it just feels like this paper was put into a printer and it printed out this, right? Like there's no depth to it. But if you go to the album cover, you can see that there's like a little shadow. And in a lot of pictures, and I would want to say all pictures, you want to have depth, right? You want to have an illusion that there is multiple layers on things. So let's go back to this one. And in this picture, you can see that there's depth, not by fake shadows that I did, but by composition, and that's what it's called in photography. That he is here. You can see that further along, the trees are here. Further along, here's the river. Shoutouts to the East LA Library. There's the little fish. What's crazy is that you don't have any ducks in here. Oh, I think that's a duck. Hey, there's a little duck. Okay. But thank you. Yeah, I'm just going through like all the photography stuff. Here you start seeing like more of the park, the bench, the street. What street is that? That's not Pomona. It turns into Pomona. Third. Primera. I think that's third. But yeah, so there's like there's a lot of depth into this photo. What good cameras do is that they start blurring the background more as you go here. And I was going to do that, and I might do that next Monday, because I'm going to be editing a yoga person's kind of like what do you call it, yogi or yoga master? I think that's just Street Fighter, but like a yoga yoga guru. I'm gonna be editing her photos, and what she does is that she takes a picture with like her phone, but the background is distracting from what she's doing. However, in a camcorders are like bad cameras, right? They're gonna capture this, so there's nothing that I want to do here. So this was a good photo, and in this one we want to make sure that there's depth. Now, what else do? I added the little shadow, and if I take off all my effects, this is the one that you see here, right? This is the one that you see. What do? I add a filter, which is called let me take these off. Second. I added this filter gallery, and what it did was it created this noise, these lines. So if I go back, take it off, when you add it on, takes a little math, but it starts adding that camcorder effect. It's called horizontal noise. And that's just so it can seem like, oh, there's like this has very bad quality, right? That's what I was mostly doing. Then in camcorders, sometimes when you see them, they have like this weird, like as it's going down, it's like bending. And in Photoshop, that's called shearing. And so I added that little like wobbly like thing, right? The bad thing about this is that sometimes people overdo it, and when I first did it, I probably did this like maybe like a good like dozen times. I didn't like it, and I didn't know why. But the more I kept doing it, I realized I think it's because it has too much. So then when I did it more subtle, you know, that conclusion came out in like attempt number like 8. But after that, the next 4, I was refining more or less where I wanted it to bend. And I decided, because if you bend it here, it might not be as noticeable, and if you bend it here, you're really losing like him as a subject. So I decided to do it here. One, because the trees aren't perfectly still. If you go back to like this original picture, let me go here. Right, the trees aren't really straight anyway. They're already kind of bendy. So why not just mess with that part already? So we had the little shearing, let the computer do its calculations, and now it even looks like a little like groovy, you know, like trees are dancing or something. Bro, yeah. I don't know. This is the one thing why I don't really like, why I've been having such a hard time like thinking to myself that I'm a teacher, is I get distracted very easily. And I know that when I'm going to be teaching, I'm going to be throwing out random subjects, and I feel like what the kids are going to do is, once they don't want to learn something, so like let's say their SATs are coming up, they're just going to find some way to get me to talk about something else, and there goes the whole day. And I know them, and I know I'm going to fall for it. So that's like my toughest kind of obstacle, is that I just get distracted too much. So now that we have this, right? If you go here, and let me actually go back to the original one, because I did like so many edits, but even in a camcorder, this is too good of a quality, right? It's pretty good. You can see that there's edges and stuff like that, and I just really wanted to mess up the quality. We need to get it into crappy quality. That was my first thing, get it to look bad. So what did I do? I added this filter called mosaic, but in like the normal people terms, it's just called like pixelation, right? So if I click on it, reduce your math for a little bit, but you get to see just how bad like it gives the quality of the picture. In the grand scheme of things here, the full one, you can't really tell. But when you look a little bit closer, it's this small detail that really changes everything. Because if you notice here, when I start shifting pixels, you can see where exactly it's happening, and you get to see, oh yeah, this is like very edited because it's perfectly clear and everything, right? The cuts of the trees are all like too good. Once you add this pixelation, when you get closer, you start seeing, oh yeah, this is something that a bad camera would do. Like there's just random like ladders and stuff like that. So that's what I did. Then let me go back to this one. Remember, this is the smart object. This is the thing that you can do to a picture, and then you kind of like link that into this one, so that way it's it doesn't get affected here, and you don't have to recopy. So it's kind of like in music when you connect a like something to like a bus, if you know what a bus is. That way you can apply effects on that whole thing, as opposed to that one instrument. Because if you want to do it to multiple things, you don't want to just copy paste that. You want to just create the whole instrument, and then you put you put in a bus, and then you apply the effect on that. If I'm getting it correctly, that's how a bus is used in music. Yeah, I don't know, it's just so hard to kind of to stay on one topic. And I think it's just because I really like to make things make sure that everyone understands it, and so I try to come up with like 10 different examples, but I feel like sometimes it just gets too all over the place, you know. So how do I get this effect? What I did was the easy way, and I'm going to delete this later, or I might just add another one, because I already sent him the full one, so I don't mind messing with this. Is I just create a selection like this, right? And you don't want it to be too big, or else that looks too fake. In camcorders, they're like little tiny ones, right? And then all you do is you just move that. Let's say that you want to move it to the left, and you can't notice, so I'm gonna do it a little bit more dramatic. You just keep moving them until they're here, and that adds that effect, right? But let me go back. That's kind of how I kept doing it. And in camcorders, they have like little areas where it happens a lot more. So I did it here. I did it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Maybe I did it like 13 times here. I did it here like maybe 3, 4 times in total. And then right here, I just messed it up so much. I think I did maybe like 50 little edits like this, just so when you look at it previously, it just adds a little corrupt file look to it, right? The other thing is I didn't want to do any near his face, so I did it like right under, so that way you can still kind of get that that's him. But I did it more to his guitar because I think it just added a little bit like a cooler effect. So that's what I did to get this cool effect. And because in the other reference, if we go here, reference picture, it's kind of purple. I experimented with making it purple as well, but when you look at it on the full one, this color and the purple kind of started battling with each other. I don't have it here, but you know, I didn't really like it, so I just took it off. I didn't really like that purple color. Then onto this little thing. Again, another smart object. It's just text. I just wanted to make sure that I included how long the song was and when it's gonna be coming out. I believe it's April 9th. That's what I did. Then when you look at it like this, let me take off my effects. The P and the R, you can't really tell that they're kind of there, so I just wanted to add again a little bit more depth. One, by adding the drop shadow, so it could add like a little outline the same way that I did this picture. But this, compared to the photo, is too good of a quality. It looks fake. So again, I added the pixelation, and there you go. I added then another one, but with this one it started looking a little like too fake, so then I just reduced it again. You can see the car. That's my neighbor's car. It honks at like 3 in the morning every day. I can never sleep. If you couldn't hear it, then good, but for the most part, really loud. Also, the songs, his songs are so good. They're like perfect for streaming. They're chill beats to stream to. So the last things that I did was I created static. And this one, be real with you, Chief, I had no idea how I did this again. I think I just rendered out static. So there's a an option in Photoshop that it creates static for you. I did it. I made sure that the static was only coming out in black and white, because when you do like a big render, they're so small that it looks like it was gonna affect the whole photo. So I got the whole static, then I squished them down, because if you can tell, these pixels look more like rectangular. Like a lot of the blotches, like right here, is like a whole rectangular line. and that's kind of how it looks on the old camcorder. So I just squeezed them down. I got the pixels that would be this large, and I just transformed them until they got that small, right? And that's how you got this little static. Then we move on to the title, and this was my biggest challenge, because I'll keep it on, because I like that they're black like this, and I like this, but I don't like that this is a different color from this. Because if you think about, like, let's say that you're building this world, right? Hold on, let me drink some water. I'm back. I just didn't want to hear you guys. I didn't want to make you guys hear my gulp. But now we're here, right? The biggest challenge was making these the same, different styles. I didn't like that this is black and this is like gold. That was my hardest thing to get over. Originally I liked it like this, right? Because when you're building a world, inside of this world is this camcorder effect, and outside of this world is like different, like a different little world again, right? Another universe. So I liked it to be like this, right? So that way it matches with everything. Has like the SpongeBob vibes, you know? But he told me keep it black. And for me, my biggest thing was, no, I don't want to do it. It looks weird. Why don't we just create the whole title like, why don't we just create the whole title like this? You know, it looks fine. It also doesn't detract from the photo. But the hardest thing for me was knowing when my ideas are gonna cause our like relationship to like not work. And so the next time he comes in, he's gonna be like, I don't want to go to him. He thinks that his ideas are better than mine. And because I'm more trained in photo editing and graphic design, to me, I would say like, well, if I wanted to make a song, I'm not going to be so vocal on like which key and what progression, how progression should work, because he's more trained in it, right? But if I were to say I like this progression, or I like that these keys go in this order, and even though he's saying that's bad, that's a bad choice, if I'm adamant, then there's something in my head that becomes more attractive, right? There's something that I know works more than doing it the regular way. And so I said, maybe his audience kind of knows why his logo should be black. Maybe there's like history on it that I didn't ask. So why am I gonna fix that? Maybe it is something in his like artistic, you know, something that having this a different color might ruin his artistic integrity or something. So I said, you know what, let's leave it like this. However, what I didn't like was this. There's no depth to it again, right? And instead of adding another shadow, what I wanted to add was like little imprint effect instead. Why? Because if you do just shadow on shadow, people start noticing that that's the editing technique. When you're an editor, you wanna know people that it's edited, obviously, but you don't want to tell them how. They should be looking for it themselves, right? And so if they keep seeing that everything has a shadow, they're gonna notice, oh, that's the thing that he does. He puts a lot of it, right? And so I wanted to make it look a little bit outside, a little bit different. Not only this, but if you notice, when I take this off, there's a very, very tiny glow. And I made sure that you couldn't really tell. But if I go to here and I bump it up, you get to see where the glow is, right? This like white kind of feel. But I made it just very small because, again, you don't want to make it seem that it's edited. But when you look at it from far, it's like just slightly lighter, that your eyes go to them. You don't really know why, but you're like, oh, I just know that this is what I'm reading, right? Like slightly there. And then with the little effect, it just adds a little bit more to like, these are the things that you should be reading. Um, and then this is the picture, right? Besides that, the rest of it was pretty easy. He was telling me like move this and this, and you know, he was telling me more or less where everything should be going, but I added the effects to make sure that it looks like a good picture. Now my iteration of this album cover was a little bit different. Mine was either I make the now my iteration was to do something like this with the what's it called, with the logo with the indent. And what I was thinking of doing was to create something like this where the picture itself, let me just keep looking for the right blending because I forgot which one to darken, where the picture itself is not fully black and white, it's black and off-white, which is what he was doing with this anyway. That's something that why am I not zooming in? Like this. There you go. So now it also matches with it. This would be the way I would do it. Also, maybe even add the logo inside of the picture, something like this. And now you can see the outer glow, right? If I get it closer to the darker areas, you can see where that glow is that you can't really notice here. But there is that little thing just to attract your eyes a little bit. I do something like this, and then maybe even change the logo to like this work. Maybe because it's in a different. But what I would do is get this logo. Let me just get another one. What I don't want to do is also mess up all the ordering, but trying to make sure that I can show you what my vision was. Do something like this, and then have this one to be like a different blending mode. So something like this, and maybe increase this a little bit, so that way, right? And not just this, but completely get rid of this stuff right here in the bottom, the outline, and just make it look a little bit, just focus on the square. So I would do something like this. This is just a rough edit, but you get the idea. Something like this. This would be the album cover, and then just add here like his name featuring Julia. This would be the full album cover. But if you look at his Spotify, he has like different ways of, or like a similar style of all his photos, that I'm not gonna do this to him, right? Although I would prefer if it looked like this. This looks like a really cool album cover. Off-white belt. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like this was gonna be a better album photo for me. Like in my opinion, just without the border and just having like this looks nice. But again, his whole marketing is him doing like little like Polaroid-ish kind of like a little look, like an old retro look. So that's kind of what I don't want to mess up his marketing. Bro, I feel like the first thing I gotta do when I start making money is buy something dumb. Like obviously first invest in stuff, but once I feel like I have enough money to start like just doing whatever I want, is definitely like just buy something dumb, something like a piece of clothes, like a designer clothes. But I don't know, the fashion so far hasn't really caught my attention yet. Yeah, this is the final look of it. Go stream it, please. Uh, it's I haven't heard the song, but if it's anything like his other three songs, then I know it's gonna be good. I know it already. Um, but yeah, that was how I created this album cover. I'm gonna take like a 5 minute break. I'm just gonna go to the restroom and then I'll go and edit your stuff, and then I'll try to do everything in terms of like how um what's it called, how I'm gonna edit your. I mean, I've already said it like 10 times, so I'm not gonna say it again. Yeah. Um. So let me just make sure that I went through all my talking points. How to talk to clients. Yep. You go online, you look for someone that you like, and then you just hit them up. Especially when they're small, they want that attention. Your ideas and your clients' ideas. You always gotta make sure that your graphic design ideas aren't clashing with the marketing and the image of them, right? If I'm used to photographing like kid stuff and they're like this hardcore rapper, you should never try and include your style in that, right? You want to make sure to keep up their image. How to distinguish similar colors, remember, always at depth. How to make the camera effect, that was like a 30-minute tutorial. Finding references, Google it, go on YouTube, look up old film, look up a camcorder vlog, anything. And how to finish a design is when you notice that anything else you're adding isn't really there. It's your client's really saying like, nah, I don't know, I don't really want to kind of do that kind of stuff. No, it's not looking like my other uh videos, or it's not looking like my other pictures. Yeah, for sure. I'll take a I'm gonna take a break right now. I'm just going over the last things, and then I'll be back in like 5 minutes. And yeah, uh, that's kind of how you get this album cover, right? And it's free. Hopefully he likes it, and hopefully the next time he gives me like $5 to do this. Cause right now I'm doing like this quarantine thing because I'm being paid to stay at home. I might as well start doing something that I like and picking up a hobby. And this whole streaming thing's kind of seems fun. Uh, I do have to make videos for my education channel, but that one is so hard to put in the hours because all I do is just animate, and it takes a long time because I'm not a good animator. But that's besides the point. Let me go take a quick break. Hopefully when I'm on in hold up. Right before I'm into intermission, uh let me know if you can hear the songs while it's intermission. And type in the chat when you see the intermission thing, and you'll see like this little like cool Easter egg that I did. So you can essentially make the Joker talk or say um whatever you want him to say. So yeah, enjoy. All right, I'm back. Gonna take another like 15 seconds. Um, and I will also bring up the fact that um, I'm gonna be editing this to be like a spaceship or like a rocket ship going into space. But little announcement. I have I also worked on another album cover, which I will be going over how I created this on Friday. It's like little ghetto Mario Bros by my guy Drenard and my other friend Malray. They create a song. It should be coming out either this weekend or the beginning of the week. But this is their album, their album cover. I'm calling it album cover even though it's a single. That's just what it's called in like the streaming services. This is them. Um, and I'm gonna go over how I got this effect, how I got like this whole tube TB effect going on, how essentially again how to talk to a client because every client's different. But that's the thing that I'm gonna be bringing up more on Friday, and then on Monday I'll probably just have like more of a fun stream. I'll be editing pictures that people send me and stuff like that, but we'll see what I do on Monday. On Monday it's probably editing the yoga person. But yeah, enough advertisement for next streams. I just want to make sure that people are here to kind of chill with me because we're in quarantine. I know people aren't really doing much. I know what it's like. So I want to make sure that I do this, and I'm still thinking when I should be streaming because I got some people on the East Coast who are right now it would be what is it, 5:30, so they might be coming out of like their day job, but I don't know exactly how it's working because of quarantine. But I also don't want to make it too late, like 9, because I know that when it's 9:30 and I'm gonna be working, I'm not gonna get my best ideas. I also don't want to do it too early because I know people wake up at different times and they probably do stuff throughout the day. So I'm looking for the right place to kind of to find that golden zone on what time to stream. So another thing is once I'm done streaming, let me know when is best to stream. You can always hit up my Instagram. That's more or less where I'm doing stuff. But for now, let me close out some things. Let me take off the editing. Let me fix the layout a little bit. I'm just gonna be calling this editing photos. That's all I'm gonna be doing today. For the rest of the stream, probably like another hour, and then I'm gonna log off. So you want to get this truck to space, huh? One of the things that I would do is first look up pictures to get something similar to this. So I'm gonna go look for a picture of like a spaceship. So I literally look up spaceship launch on Google, and I wish I could show you this, but I haven't finished the overlay on how I'm gonna look when I'm looking through the internet. So that's something that I need to do later. And the one thing that you should be looking for when you are going to be editing something like this is to look for a certain angle, the similar angle. Hold on, let me lower this a little. So for me, this has like a slightly like a back and the left angle or side angle. So I'm going to be looking for a spaceship that has like a back side angle. I'm just looking through. Light back, side angle, side angle. Oh Jesus, you know who you should are you here? If you are, you know who else I used to watch him on Twitch a lot, but ever since I changed my phone, that was the only place where I would watch the streams. Felix isn't Felix was streaming his like Halo games, and I feel like that's something that like, he would be interested in just chilling, because I know that he um when he was streaming he was just kind of like talking with friends. I'm like, hey man, he should join this. So there's that'd be kind of cool. So first thing I'm doing is image. What I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be pasting certain images that I like, and this is obviously not for sale. The reason why I say that is because feel free to steal these images. You know, no one really cares. But once you're paying someone to do this, someone's paying you for this, make sure that nothing's copyrighted, or else you're gonna have a pretty big bill to pay uh, for a certain size, like something like this. Tab, copy it, too small. Back. And I really don't want to download it somewhere else now. What happens if this? Yep, same side. Go to my downloads. Why did it come out so small? Come on. Alright, I guess the closest thing I can do is copy it. So these are the ones that I'm just looking at that are kind of like I'm seeing they're kind of cool. Um oh, this one looks kind of cool. This one's big. So now what am I gonna do? I am going to lunch break. What are you working on? Up. How is stream health? Saying that my audio bitrate is down. Is that true? How is the audio right now? 1 second, I'm gonna pop into my page. Saying that my audio bitrate is down. No, no, I hear myself. Damn. How's your mom? Or birth giver? It could be your dad. I don't know how you be classifying these things. What I'm going to be doing right now is I'm just gonna be cutting out the truck out of the image. There's two ways to do it. One way is the computer way. So you're going to be using this quick selection tool or W. I usually just click W, but and Photoshop does its best to figure out what is the car and what isn't. And so you just like draw over it. For the most part, it does a pretty good job. That's the way that the only thing that it does have difficulty with is like hair and stuff like that, but because it's a car, there's a lot of contrast to it. So for example, here it thinks this is the car as well. And the way to get rid of that is by holding Alt. Now it becomes a minus, and so you get to delete that selection. Right? What we are creating right now is a selection, and these are all the pixels that count as car. So you see here the little line got the bushes because it thinks that that is part of the image. Cutting it out. Still get only the car. And a good rule is that it's okay to make a bigger selection than usual. It's not good to have a smaller selection. So sure, add pixels for the car, right? And so this is kind of one way to do it. The other way, and it all depends on how much time you have in the quality, is by, so what we're doing right now is we're creating a selection, which is what these like little dotted lines are. The other way is to actually draw it, and I'll show you how to draw it. But for the most part, tags, for the most part, it's kind of hard to do, and it takes a little bit more time. So if this is just like a shit post that you're trying to do, this works perfectly fine. Some music again. I was scared that it wasn't rendering anymore. And I am. What are you guys talking about? Is she scared about like a virus as well? Because my mom's like, she's saying she's not freaking out, but at the same time, like doing stuff that resembles people that freak out. So, you know, if she listen to the stream, I could also talk in Spanish, make things easier for her. And I'm just zooming in. Or I don't know if you can see this through Photoshop because I don't know how the streaming whole thing works. I'm learning slowly, and you know. So we have this, right? We got the full selection. Then we just create a mask. And you might be wondering, where is it? There it is, right? So it did a pretty decent job. What I don't like is that the reflection of the bushes here didn't really get such a good part here. But what I do next, shock people. But I just go here, and what the mask does is if I pull it full, this is the selection that it made, right? It's rough and it's kind of like bad, but for the most part, did a pretty good job. All I'm gonna do is then go here, and I'm just gonna go over it. Make sure that it's nice and clean, right? So that starts looking a little bit nicer. But also re-add things that were taken off. So I'm starting to see that this not as good. But for streaming purposes and for ship posting, totally fine. Cut off a little bit of the wheat. Those tires look kind of weak. Probably goes up to, oops. And I'm not drawing on the picture itself. What I'm doing is I'm drawing on the mask. So if we go here, this is what I'm drawing on, right? And I'm just drawing in black because what black says is Photoshop do not show these pixels, and what white says is Photoshop do show pixels, right? So when we go into this image, it's the exact same thing. So I'm gonna leave this little banana piece. I'm gonna keep on going. I'm not gonna try too hard on this picture because it is like a kind of funny looking picture. I don't think you're gonna use this for like a quinceañera or something, so you know, just having fun. Oh, the other thing that helps is creating straight edges. Give the illusion of pretty good selection. And this, and the way that I'm doing these perfect lines is by holding shift. And when you start using it yourself, you start noticing that a pretty good way to form lines. So I'm just doing the selection on where the line starts and where the line ends. Start and then holding shift, end. I'm holding shift again, end, right? So you gotta know, like, that's where you want to start, that's where I want to end, and it does it for you. These smaller ones, start, end, start, end. We just color this part out. Adjusting wheel that I could fix. Close enough. Right here. Start, hold shift. Chat real quick. The tires are fine. Why is it on a thing? Or is it being towed away? So let's say that you want to see the final picture like this. You select shift and then on the little mask and disable it. That's how it looks, right? Now, what picture do I want to use? I was thinking putting the truck here, or putting it here, or putting on this one. What do you think? So this is 3 here. This is 2. I'm gonna make it bigger because what's the difference between this one and this one? Just the quality, and then this one has more of the smoke effect, so it'll look kind of a little bit more dramatic. And this is Space Cadet or flying ship or other flying. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's getting shipped. I didn't know you could ship cars. Message retracted. Retracted. Yeah. Which one are you feeling right now? Oh, let me also change the title. Editing a truck into space. In. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we're gonna keep it here. I'm gonna save it. I don't really want to show my settings, but just know that I'm gonna save this. I will also try to find more spaceship pictures, but for the end, I'm gonna show you the whole process. We'll probably do this next Friday, because Monday, unless you come on Monday, I am gonna be editing the yoga ones, and those go through a little bit more of a tutorial. But yeah, I'll save it, and then I'll see where we go from there, man. Thanks for hanging out. Also, I'm gonna just log out. Number 1, cool. So let's do number 1. It helps out a lot more. So yeah, thanks for hanging out, man. But for now, I think I'm gonna call it quits. 1:30. This is pretty good stream. I don't know how people stream for like 4 hours. I get tired, but yeah, this might be it. So spend the night, go stream the song, and Yeah, I never know how. I never know how this how to end this stuff. Or Friday? Yeah. All right, we'll do it Friday. Um, yeah, I guess just I'll see you guys see you later, man. Thanks for hanging out. Peace.